Happy holidays and welcome to Lakers React, where we love everything purple and gold. My name is Rochelle and we are back at you once again with a weekly breakdown of news, highlights, and all the latest surrounding the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, with a very successful homestand to kick off the month of December, we are ready to chat with you. And right here joining me is my guy, Frankie. What's up, sir?
Hey, lady, I'm ready to get it in with another weekly edition of Lakers React. Of course, I want to thank everybody that took time out to comment and provide their feedback on some of the top Lakers stories, and that's what makes all this possible. You see, when you take time out to follow us on social media with the information that you see there listed on the screen, we post updates throughout the week looking for your opinion as fans. That is because your reactions count here on Lakers React, and we share them with fans around the world, from Cali to the Philippines, from the UK to South America. Lakers fans, we unite around the world. The show loves our purple and gold squad, and this is what we do. So with that said, let's jump into some game time reaction from the past week since we last talked. Let's react. Protecting home court was the theme of Friday night's action against the Dallas Mavericks. Of course, the Lakers had their ups and downs during the night, where I thought it might be another W. But in the end, the Lakers came out on top, 114-103. Of course, LeBron James wouldn't be LeBron James if he didn't lead the Lakers to victory.
Right.
But one player that had a pretty solid game until he fouled out was Lonzo Ball. In fact, Coach Luke Walton had these kind words to say: "When you come straight to the NBA when you're young, 1 year in college, defense is normally the last thing you do when you're a high draft pick." Walton said, "We saw his defensive instincts. He was way more advanced than we thought he would be on that side of the court." Of course, when looking at Lonzo Ball's stats from last year to this year, though, he has definitely dropped in points scored, rebounds, and assists. But he's being labeled as a defensive stopper. So our question for you was, are you satisfied with Lonzo's performance this season? And here's what you had to say.
Here we go.
A very interesting comment from Troy on Facebook's Purple City Gold Gang said, "We already have scores, and our defense has been suspect." Another comment complimenting the play of Lonzo was from Lincoln, who said, "He is high on intangibles. With Lonzo's activity on defense, the offense will come." Checking out comments from Philip, which I really like, he said, "Satisfied? No." "Content as long as he's aggressive like he has been the past 4 to 5 games. Yes."
Okay.
Finally, we had Ian with a pretty savvy breakdown commenting on Facebook's Born a Lakers Fan, Die a Lakers Fan group, saying, "If you look at Lonzo's per 36 stats," now he's getting into the metrics.
We're getting deep now. Using big words.
"He's exactly the same in rebounds and points, but the assists are down. The turnovers are slightly down as well. He doesn't get the full ball handling job because he's on the court with LeBron. So much so, the drop in assists and shot attempts makes sense. The shooting percentage is up, so his scoring game is improving. When he gets a rebound or outlet, then pushes up and gets easy buckets on his own, that's what I want to see. He's an underrated athlete. You see it on defense. But he needs to showcase that speed and athleticism on offense. I do think he makes a positive impact on the game."
Okay. I feel that. Yeah.
That is definitely some interesting feedback online. What are your thoughts, lady?
Now, truthfully, I understand all the high expectations around Lonzo Ball, from Magic Johnson proclaiming him to be another Laker great to his father's big baller brand hype. But when watching Lonzo, it is the hardest position to learn in the NBA. When looking at his offense, it's definitely a work in progress. But when you look at his game against Dallas, even though he had 5 turnovers, he also had 5 of the 8 Lakers steals that night. Now, we always have to remember, with a young player, you have to acknowledge the good and keep working on the things that are a work in progress.
Preach.
The curse has finally come to an end this week, as the Los Angeles Lakers finally secure a W on Sunday against the Phoenix Suns at Staples Center. Serving up a monster beatdown, the Lakers would knock off the Phoenix Suns 120-96. When watching the game and checking the stats sheet, focus would rightfully go to the players who have a great scoring effort, like LeBron or even Kuzma, who had a nice shooting game. But just like we need scoring, we also need hustle and grit.
Right.
Now, one player that stood out again with his grit and willingness to fight over screens was the game of Josh Hart. Hart was a balls-out hustle machine against the Sun, impressing not only the fans, but Coach Walton, who said he was making winning plays all over the court. The plus-minus doesn't always add up. There are times when you're on the court with other guys that are playing well, and you finish with a good plus-minus. So, what do you think of Luke's comments, Frankie?
Girl, you know I'm a Josh Hart fan for real. For example, watching this game shows you that LeBron is definitely rubbing off on Josh regarding efficiency. Against the Suns, Hart was a plus 32 on 5 shot attempts. Of course, scoring is always a big factor in securing a win, but it also takes a team of ballers who are willing to hustle until the final horn sounds. And that is for real, for real. Josh Hart, that's my guy. Ugh. All I have to say is LeBron is a beast. Wednesday night was another monster performance from LeBron James as the greatness of the King made light work in the final minutes of the Spurs, exhibiting that clutch gene at the very end. Now, I can't say I was a little worried that we would fall short like in previous matchups, but our purple and gold squad clawed their way back in, and the game was a victory, 121 to 115. Checking out LeBron's play, he would end the game dropping 42 points, collecting 5 rebounds, and dishing out 6 assists. 20 of those points in the fourth quarter. Kyle Kuzma also helped with getting the W, adding an additional 22 points to the final score.
Okay.
All I can say is some of the step backs that LeBron has been doing as of late are sick. I can't even honestly say if he's shooting inside of Staples or if he's making it rain from Long Beach. He's shooting so deep. But anyway, although we were impressed by LeBron's performance and being MVP status so far this season, we wanted to know your thoughts on the game. We had a few thumbs up voting for LeBron versus others who didn't, and comments came in like this, with Andy saying, "No, not yet, but with that he has again. With just what he has as players to play with starting off the season to this point is amazing." Then we had Renato feeling LeBron for MVP, commenting, "He is the MVP always." So needless to say, a little mix from a couple of fans there on their feelings about LeBron for MVP, baby.
Yeah.
MVP. When reading a story that was headlined on multiple sites from Rick Bucher, there was a report about Kevin Durant stating that the environment around LeBron James was toxic.
Oh.
Now, of course, that brought up a ton of chat and criticism on whether players looking to be free agents wanted to even play on the same team as LeBron James. For example, this past summer, how Paul George went back to Oklahoma City instead of signing with the Lakers. When watching post-game comments with LeBron, he had comments regarding that chatter, with this to say, "No, for what?" responding to, does he care about the comments? "I'm past the taking things personal stage." James said this after his 3rd game of 40-plus points this season. Well, he said, "I can do whatever. I can have a huge workload. I can have a not-so-huge workload. It doesn't matter for me. What's most important is seeing my teammates make huge shots in the fourth quarter. That's most important to me. I can care less about the narrative about me. It doesn't matter. I'm a staple in this game." Bro?
He said I'm a staple.
Bro?
You know what? When I read this story, the first time I saw it, I felt like it was Groundhog's Day until I realized they were talking about LeBron instead of Kobe. Truthfully, I have come to a point in my life that every time you have a legend on the Lakers, there is always going to be hate, whether with current players or in the media. You will always have someone trying to get readers to check for stories because they are trying to stir up animosity with fans. It's kind of a trick to me where you talk bad about a team in order to get that team's fans to read your content and argue back. at you as a reporter. I like the fact that LeBron didn't fall into that trap and say anything to degrade any of the players quoted. And we'll see where this goes as the year rolls on.
LeBron taking the high road.
Yes, Michelle Obama, baby. One thing that is for certain about Laker Nation is if the Black Mamba speaks,
ooh,
Laker Nation listens.
Yes, we do. We do.
This week at an all-access event that is held by the Lakers annually, Kobe's words definitely set off the media, baby. It was here during the event Kobe was commenting on the current status of the Lakers and their potential when Kobe said, "We'll be champions again before you know it. And we'll be laughing in the faces of all of those Warriors fans who came out of nowhere." Now, of course, those were positive words coming from Kobe Bryant, but we had a question for you. And that simply was, did you believe Kobe? That is where comments like this came in from fans like Joshua, who said, "I reckon next year they will take the title, but what's wrong with Kobe's hairline? It was never that nasty." I see, he definitely had jokes. Then we had Matthew, who definitely wanted to believe in the Lakers, saying, "Yes, all the way, no question." So there are some that believe and others who don't, but that is why we are fans, because we love to react about our purple and gold.
We believe. All right, folks, anytime you deal with sports, with hoops comes injuries. And this week I have a little bit of good news and a little bit of bad news surrounding the Los Angeles Lakers.
Shoot.
Let's get the bad news out of the way, as the Lakers will lose a key piece of the young core over the next 2 games after Brandon Ingram suffered an injury. During the Wednesday night matchup against the Spurs, Ingram went for a mid-range jumper where he ended up landing on LaMarcus Aldridge's foot, ending with Ingram on the floor grabbing for his ankle. According to Spectrum Sportsnet's Mike Trudell, Ingram will miss Friday's game against the San Antonio Spurs and Saturday's contest against the Memphis Grizzlies while recovering. Now, with better news, the Lakers saw Rajon Rondo cleared for contact drills with his broken hand. Last week we reported that Rondo had cleared participating in non-contact drills. But this week Luke Walton chimed in, letting the media know that Rondo pretty much went through all of Tuesday's practice, saying he's still holding back a little bit. You can see if there's a loose ball, he'll reach for it with his left hand. If he gets into contact, he'll kind of protect his right hand. But he said it's not from the pain, it's just any time you come back from injury, you kind of have to retrain your brain and react to what's happening on the court.
Right.
So hopefully we will be seeing the feisty guard back in the lineup soon to handle the ball and deal with ball handling duties. In the meantime, with Rondo and Ingram out, you will see time split handling the rock between LeBron and Lonzo with primary duties.
All right, everybody, the Los Angeles Lakers are back at it again with some pretty stiff competition kicking off tonight. Check out these matchups for the upcoming week with the LA Lakers. First, we have the squad facing the Spurs once again in the same week tonight on the road in San Antonio. From there, in a pretty messed up back-to-back game, the Lakers will face the Memphis Grizzlies on Saturday night. With not too much of a break, the Lakers will head back home for a Monday night game against the Miami Heat. Then finally get a few days off before hitting the road again on Thursday night against the Houston Rockets in Houston, which I am sure will be a pretty hostile crowd after our last encounter in Los Angeles.
You think?
So, yes, I think. So, that is your breakdown for the Los Angeles Lakers, coming to you from December 7th through the 13th.
All right.
All right, so we have come to the end right here on Lakers React, sharing news, highlights, rumors, and more surrounding the Los Angeles Lakers. Frankie, any final words, my brother?
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody that made the show possible, including the fans, getting involved in the discussions online, and that's what makes what we do easy. And if you want to debate and enjoy Lakers basketball, chat, you can follow us on social media at Lakers React. There, comments that you make, we read here on air to talk about our purple and gold.
That's right, baby. All right, well, that is our time. And we will see you next week with a little more purple and gold conversation.